Just joined us. We're in Sandton today and we're talking arts and culture. We have a star-studded cast on stage here. We have the Minister himself, the Honourable Natim Tetwa. We've got Yvonne Chaka Chaka, a singer, businesswoman and social activist in health and education as well, I know. And the acting DG, Vuya Jack, is with us as well. And we're talking about unleashing the economic potential of the arts. Why is it that the US can export as much creativity as it does and influence the whole world? In fact, you know, we've got kids in South Africa rapping with American accents. How is it that they do this? We've got to get them speaking Tsotsi Tal in Hollywood. That's what we need to be doing. So let's find ways to be able to unleash the economic potential, and we're trying to unpack that. Minister, just before the break, you gave your opening statements and you shared your thoughts and your plans. And I'm just wondering, you know, every time I switch on the TV now, I keep hearing how our schools need to be taking science and maths seriously, and a lot of effort is going in there. And I wonder if that isn't going to sacrifice the arts in some ways, because already they were marginalized. And now with this focus, and it's important, absolutely, but we're seeing arts coming out of the curriculums at schools. We're seeing arts subjects not being included as they were before. And I'm hearing sad news about even universities dropping some of their arts programs as well. If that's the case, surely then some of the plans that you have in play are going to be derailed even before we begin.
Well, you're correct, Peter. You'll never have any nation of maths and science only. It's unheard of. It will never happen. That is why we, from the department, work with artists in those schools. There are schools which are still teaching arts and culture, working with them in ensuring that we heightened the consciousness of the importance of the sector itself and as a career. But we also, in agreement with the Minister of Basic Education, to reintroduce history, because there is no way that you can have a nation thriving without historians, without people who understand who we are and where we are going to as a nation. So for us, it is a struggle which we are prepared to enter, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be much of a difficulty in doing that. And we'll do that working with people in the sector. Yvonne here is representing not musicians today. She's representing the entire cultural and creative industry. What we've been saying as government is that people from cultural and creative industry must come forward and work with government, but also be able to articulate their aspirations for the future. And it's our practical way now of saying, we're not just making that call. We're saying, come together, all of you, because as she's here, she's representing the entire genre of culture, the entire genre of arts, together with the interim team, which is going to take the entire CIFSA into conference. At the end of the day, we have something which represents everybody in this industry.
All right, so Yvonne, what are the biggest challenges our creative industries are facing? You know, it is 20 years down the road, and some really expected to have been further down the road, and for some reason we're not there. What's been holding us back?
It's actually a shame that, you know, this very industry that use art, music, to tell the world about the atrocities that were happening in South Africa is sort of shoved away today. I mean, we've got great creative people, Yopitika Kantuli. There's so many people out here. And it's said that musicians or the people in the creative arts are only needed when there's just a time. Yes, our industry is known, it's quite seasonal, but it generates so much money. So we need to be part of this. We should not be, at the end of the day, be begging. Yes, when people do research, they find that our proposals are not up to standard, so we need education in that part. Unrealistic budgets that we sort of come with as well become huge problems. So I think the education of the arts and culture is imperative. So from young children, not everybody is going to be an academic. Not everybody wants to be a doctor or an engineer. But children who we see potential, that they are very good in the arts, we need to unleash their potential, and that needs to be done in the schools. We should not be today sitting here and saying universities are not doing this, or even primary schools. So there's a lot of synergy with the Department of Education, the Department of Home Affairs. I mean, South Africa becomes a home for all the American artists who come here and get paid millions of rands. And if poor Yvonne or poor Babsi Mlangeni is sitting there, ask for 100,000 rands, it cannot be given. He cannot be given. So that should really come to an end. And I'm actually very happy that here today, Tshwane Municipality is sitting here and it is being represented, because really they support the arts. They support the arts, and we need to congratulate them. We want you to keep on doing that. I don't know, where is Gauteng?
Yeah.
Where is Gauteng? They're not here, and we're in Gauteng. It's a shame.
Okay, all right, very interesting. She's raised something that I wanted to ask, and I wonder if government gives the respect that the artists deserve. Because if you are not going to pay the Yvonnes and all these artists comparable rates to, I don't know, is it Rihanna, whoever it is?
Nicki Minaj.
Yes, exactly, Nicki Minaj. The message you're sending out is that we're second rate and that we're second tier, because the others that are coming from abroad are first tier. How do we change that? And is government going to change the game in terms of recognizing local and saying you're just as good as the international community?
Absolutely. And I think that's why the creation of SIFSA becomes important, because it enables the industry to be able to standardize the rates. Because you see, one of the other potential pitfalls is that people are played against each other, so that you can say, no, but this one can only do it at this rate, so you need to then bring your rate down. So we need to start changing that through the SIFSA. Then it allows us to make sure that the level of prices that are charged are comparable. And so, but also we need to have consciousness that we need to pay for our tickets. This thing of always, when we have events, asking for free tickets, it's devaluing the value of the artists. So then we need to go on a message that we need to be paying fair value for these tickets to recognize the talent. And therefore, we need to then have the campaigns and so forth that enables that to happen.
All right, okay, let's start getting the comments of our people that are communicating via Twitter, you, the audience at home, and also the audience that we have in here. In fact, we're going to start at table number 5. Professor Mthuli, thank you very much for joining us. If you could stand up, we'll get a microphone to you, and you can pose your question.
I think I like the star-studded panel and the questions so far. But what I want to ask is that we have been a bleeding nation for centuries, and our country is littered with killing fields. What plans do we have to build monuments in order to contribute towards the social cohesion in this country?
Okay. What I would like to do, with your permission, is just to get 3 questions and then let's accumulate them. Let's go straight to Edward Musahani at table number 3. Okay, table number 3, Edward. We'll get a microphone to you. At Morning Live, SABC is the Twitter handle if you want to participate in this conversation as well at home. Edward?
No, thank you very much. The first question is that, you know, the Department of Arts and Culture is national. Then we should look down the ground to say that why can't we regionalize, to decentralize your structures so that it should be closer to the community, other than those that are rendered by the municipalities? That's one question. Second point is the issue of grants. that is there any chances of increasing grants to local municipalities? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Edward. Tebogo, you're on table number 9. Table number 9. If you could just say your name as well.
Thank you. My name is Tebogo Statu, Chairperson, Gospel Music Association. Thank you very much. Minister, just my question touches on what Mam Hinga has just hinted on. You know, we've got legendary musicians like Tate Mlangene here and a whole lot of them who are not really surviving. I mean, you were at Mushito yourself, and Mam Dorothy Masuga was pleading poverty about getting a grant or an allowance for $500. So what are we doing to ensure that they are sustainable? You know, when you listen to radio, you'll hear a lot of American, European content of old, they call it solid gold, old musicians that are no more active, but they're still being played. A lot of royalties have been shipped out. We have to do something, and we have to do it now. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much indeed for those first 3 questions. So, social cohesion is a big one, and we've used arts and culture over the years to reflect our society, the challenges that we're facing, and I guess we need to build a nation now. How do you see the arts, and how are you going to use the arts and culture to get that social cohesion right?
Well, thanks to the question by Professor Nduli. The specific question is asking mainly about respecting and honoring those who died for our freedom. And there are a variety of programs aimed at that, because you'd recall that the space we are in is the space of both intangible and tangible values, and it's talking specifically on the former. So what it means is that programs like Liberation Heritage Route for us is on track, where we specifically go to all these sites and important periods in our struggle, and individuals, of course, and honor those. And one of the things we have started on is to have a Heroes Acre in South Africa, because South Africa is amongst the very few countries which have gone through a protracted process of struggle, but not having a symbol honoring at the central level all those who contributed to be where we are today as a country. So those programs are raging. They are there. We are going to be seeing results of them as it were. As we speak now, Cabinet is finalizing the Liberation Heritage Route, for instance, where we involve different stakeholders and provinces. Decentralization, arts and culture arts, culture, and heritage belongs to the nation as a whole. You may have somebody you think that is a provincial hero, but at the same time is a national hero. So therefore, it won't be there won't be Chinese wall between what is happening locally and nationally. That is why you also have provincial chapters of arts and culture. And in most cases, they are together with sport, precisely because of the mandate which has been given to arts and culture, that one of nation building and social cohesion. So using both that would ensure that indeed we realize what has been said.
But Minister, just before you carry on with that, the reality though is, if you're not in Gauteng, Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, you basically are swimming upstream. If you're in Limpopo or Northern Cape or Mpumalanga, the chances of you making progress in arts and culture are much slimmer. In fact, if we look at that equation of that 94 billion that you're talking about, those 4 provinces together contributed less than KwaZulu-Natal on its own. So how do we get the balance right to make sure that a lot of these provinces are not forgotten and left behind? Because that's what's happening at the moment.
You've got to take a national view and say that people who are experts, the twin was mentioning the legendary Babs Mlangeni and many others. people who are experts in all these fields come together in an organized form, because part of the problem with arts and culture is fragmentation. The fact that you are going to have people from Gauteng in a much more better position, it's because they are central, they are at the center of where things are happening. But if you take a national view and say, let's get everybody, experts in all the fields, coming together as an organized formation, they are going to be able to represent the entire nation and say, hang on, there is Limpopo and something is happening there. There is Northwest and so on. And that for us, the organized approach is going to change things, as it were. But he spoke about a very important matter, not only that our artists are struggling when they are alive and even when they pass on. A number of them have been, buried under very difficult situation and circumstances. And again, with everybody you have here, it's a person for himself or herself, because it depends who is able to approach arts and culture as an individual. And you find that there is concentration amongst individuals, and other people's talents and abilities are not taken up. And therefore, you have a skewed view of knowing that the talent is concentrated in one area, when in fact, there are many people, and there are people who actually did even more than the ones you have. Because whatever, I remember the words of the late president of the ANC, O.R. Tambo, that political leaders had done everything to highlight the plight of the people of South Africa. But it was through arts and culture that the world understood the message better. And our approach then, and the suggestions which come from the industry itself, in these past 3 months we are in office, they have a lot of suggestions of what can be done, both for social well-being of artists, but also for the future purposes. So they have all those, and all of them are concentrated in SIFSA. That's why I was saying we need to launch this organization so that it becomes this voice that they themselves speak to all of us and say, these are the areas we want, rather than being approached by an individual artist.
All right, we're going to have to take a quick break, but after that we're going to continue to address those questions. Grants, funding, that seems to come up a lot, bursaries, helping people with study, and also some schools. We've got to keep them open. A lot of them are closing down, and we'll continue that conversation after the break, and we'll also get your questions at home, hashtag TNA BizBrief at Morning Live SABC, and we'll also getting a lot of questions from our audiences here as well. Vanessa Perumal will be next. Stay with us.